Cyber Material presents Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every Friday at noon Eastern Time for a high-energy, no-fluff recap of the week's biggest cyber stories. From data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special: live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. Before we begin, please note this session is for informational purposes only and not legal advice. Now, without further ado, let's get this event started.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Ask Me Anything Cyber. I am Prapti Pal and I'll be your host for today. And we are going to discuss one of the most pressing challenges for modern professionals, that is cybersecurity in the legal world. Over the next hour, we will explore how lawyers and cybersecurity responders can work together during breaches, minimize liability, and strengthen resilience all together. I'm joined today by two incredible guests: Melissa Lookings, legal expert and author on cybersecurity law and digital privacy; Sophie, CTO of 911 Cyber and cybersecurity expert. We'll explore real life cases, discuss practical strategies, and of course, take your questions. So make sure you have some ready because we have some legal experts and we have cybersecurity experts who are waiting to answer you. So let's get started by bringing the guests to stage. Hi, Sophie. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
I'm
Hi.
good. How are
Hi,
you,
thank you for
Sophie?
having me. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And I'm sure our guests have prepared some questions. But my first question to you, Melissa, is that what first drew you into focusing on cybersecurity and data privacy law? And did that journey shape your decision to, write a book on that subject?
Definitely. So, my interest in cybersecurity, I guess, goes back to the early 2010s during the early Bitcoin and blockchain days, well before I even considered going to law school. So, those
Yeah.
early conversations in the tech world planted the seed that cybersecurity was going to have massive implications, not just for business and technology, but also for governance, accountability, human rights.
Yeah.
So then later in 2019, while studying at UNB, that's the University of New Brunswick, Faculty of Law, I
Yeah.
attended the Humanitarian Law Conference where one of the keynote speakers was Dr. Arash Habibi Lashkari. He spoke about humanitarian law in the digital and cyberspace. And
Yeah.
afterward, we had a conversation about network security, blockchain, knowledge transfer, and essentially the gap between the legal field and the cybersecurity field. Later, he reached out with a proposal to write a book. Um,
Yeah.
the idea was to create a series of articles, eventually a book that explained the intersection of law and cybersecurity in a way that was accessible to both lawyers and cybersecurity professionals, even with no prior background in either field.
Okay.
That one thing led to another, and by the time I was called to the Ontario bar, it just felt natural for cybersecurity and digital privacy law to become a core part of my practice. Since then, I've gone to branch into my own legal practice, Lukings Law, while Dr. Lashkari
Yeah.
has gone on to become the Canada Research Chair for Cybersecurity. I think I answered your question.
Yeah, that's actually really nice to know. And thank you so much for sharing your backstory about how you got into cybersecurity. Now, Sophie, my question to you, like from your experience at 911 Cyber, what are the most common mistakes you see organizations make, in the first at least 24 hours of the breach because of the panic?
Yeah, so thank you for having me again. And I
Yeah.
love that we are talking about like how intersects cybersecurity and law, and bringing
Yeah.
Melissa with like her experience and her perspective, and also
Yeah.
my perspective as a cybersecurity professional and how we deal with these cases. So in my experience, I can say that the biggest mistake that I see in the first 24 hours is rushing to respond without properly
Yeah.
documenting. I know, like you, Melissa, as an attorney, you know exactly the importance of documentation. So what I always recommend to the tech people or the cybersecurity responders is to always document everything. And instead of like trying to fix things immediately, it's best to actually take notes, save logs, and make sure that you get all these evidence preserved that it can be used later, to avoid like creating major complications, like I can say regulatory issues or
Yeah.
any liability exposure. So before going out and informing everybody, it's best to preserve evidence to actually understand what happened. And so your legal counsel can help you put this documentation in the best way possible.
Yep.
So you are actually abiding by all the laws and regulations.
Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. And Melissa, many organizations will still see cybersecurity as a technical matter, because it sounds so technical. From your perspective, what is the biggest misconception businesses might have about the legal obligations after a breach?
I think the biggest misconception would be that cybersecurity is just an IT problem.
Yeah.
People assume that if the technical team patches the system or restores access, then the problem's solved, but that's not the case. A data breach isn't only a technical failure, it's also a legal event. So legal obligations can move very quickly. I practice law in Canada, in Ontario. So in Canada, under the PIPEDA, organizations must report any breach of security safeguards involving
Hmm.
information if there is a real risk of significant harm, and they also have to notify the affected individuals. As well, we have the protection of health information and the PHIPA, health information
Yep.
custodians are required to report breaches of personal health information. Europe has the GDPR, where there's a 72-hour requirement. So like the legal risk doesn't end when the firewall is patched or whatever,
Mhm.
Yeah.
continues into regulatory investigations, litigation, reputational harm. There's so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a
Yeah.
trail of like
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's not only on the
Like,
tech side of things, but there's also like so many things involved.
yeah, like a domino effect. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Melissa, like, what role should like legal counsel play in ensuring like digital forensics is admissible, defensible during litigation or regulatory investigations like these?
I love evidence. Okay, so forensic
Okay,
evidence
yeah.
is it's one of my favorite courses in law school. Shout out to Nicole O'Byrne. So anyway, forensic evidence is only useful if it can be relied on in court or before a regulator, and that's where the lawyers come in. So counsel doesn't run the tools, but we make sure that the process stands up to legal scrutiny. So in Canada, we have the Canada Evidence Act as well as provincial evidence acts, which govern admissibility of evidence. They require proper authentication and reliability of the electronic records. We also have in Ontario the Electronic Commerce Act, which affirms that electronic documents are legally valid if integrity can be proven. So
Okay.
logs, disk images, forensic captures have to be preserved correctly, and the chain of custody must be documented thoroughly. Just to throw out a random example, if your passwords are taped to desks on a sticky note in your law office, or if it
That's
can be
evidence.
shared informally among staff. The opposing side can argue that your forensic trail isn't reliable. I've seen breaches where something as basic as poor password hygiene weakened the evidentiary foundation of the entire investigation. So legal counsel acts as a bridge, translating the technical work into the legal standards. Without that, the evidence might exist, but still be thrown out.
Yeah, actually, I've seen some cyber insurance denying the claim because of poor cyber hygiene. So the fact of having you're posted with your password still on your computer, yeah, it
Mhm.
makes sense.
That's actually, I do not know about that. That if you have it taped behind your desk, you might not be able to make a strong case for yourself.
Mm.
And so, Sophie, when handling like a live breach, how do you ensure that the evidence is preserved and it stands up in court during like regulatory
Yeah,
investigations?
yeah. Actually, we had a few cases, and in my experience, like I always tell the team is like is key in treating every action like it could be scrutinized later. So it means that if you isolate a system or you capture logs, or as Melissa mentioned, the forensic images,
Yeah.
they have to be clear, timestamp. They have to be every record has to be noted down, wrote down, create documentation, and everything has to be like very well clear for the law team that they can look into, and it can help you. So as a tech professional, you have to be very thorough in that case. And I understand you may be panicking on what is happening
Yeah.
right now because you just discovered data breach or it is an ongoing situation. So you have to be calm in that sense, and you have to be like very like cool-minded and try to take notes and document everything, because you can be called to testify and to give or even as an expert witness. So you need to be like very very well informed on what happened, and also if you are a professional and you need to you are brought as an expert witness, you know, to understand what is the
Hmm.
chain of evidence and how to preserve the evidence correctly.
Thank you, Sophie, so much for your answer. And Melissa, when advising like boards and executive, what clauses like or safeguards should be included in contracts, especially because I think that's what people are going to look at first when we are doing with, dealings with third party vendors, and we have to reduce, post breach liability.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna preface this by saying it always depends. That's, the lawyery answer.
Yeah.
But essentially, contracts with vendors are critical because the law says that you can delegate tasks, but you can't delegate accountability. So under the PIPEDA, organizations remain accountable for personal information, even if it's processed by a third party. Health custodians under the PHIPA must ensure their agents maintain proper safeguards as well. And then in Europe, the GDPR requires the use of standard contractual clauses for all cross border transfers. So, generally speaking, and again, it depends, and this isn't legal advice, but vendor
Yeah,
contracts
of
should
course.
include breach notification timelines, minimum security safeguards like MFA, multi factor authentication, encryption,
Yeah.
patching, cyber insurance requirements, and indemnification clauses shifting liability if the vendor fails. But the bigger picture here is that a contract really is only as good as the daily practice behind it, just as you wouldn't give out your office keys indiscriminately or leave them piled all over the floor.
Yeah.
You shouldn't entrust sensitive client data to a vendor without verifying their security.
Yeah, and I actually I have like an example in mind. A couple of weeks ago, the McDonald's AI chatbot was kind of accessed and hacked because of a third party vendor that provided the service to them. So in this case, it's both like McDonald's and Paradox AI, which was the vendor in that case. They were both
Yeah.
sued because of like breaching like this. But in this case, it was not McDonald's fault. It was the vendor that was providing the service. So in this case, McDonald's is also suing Paradox. So I can wait to see what is this landing on terms of settlement.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we'll be the first one to cover it. It will be there on Cyber Material before anything else. So make sure that you follow Cyber Material and subscribe so that you do not miss an important headline. And Sophie, my question to you: what practical steps should lawyers take, like when engaging responders on scene, to avoid unintentionally compromising evidence or slowing containment?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question because I usually work with in-house counsel and how to help
Yeah.
like defend against liability and also against the cyber attack at the same
Yes.
time, because at the end of the day it's both that you are fighting the criminals and also what is coming after, which is the law. So when I always give advice to lawyers, is like they have to be proactive, but also they have to be strategic. So they need to understand that when they give a guidance to the tech team and what can and cannot be touched, they need to understand that we are also tech people. So at the end of the day, we need to find common ground, because we need to protect the assets of the company, but also we need to protect the reputation, liability, and a lot of stuff. So we are like kind of in the middle of everything. So
Yeah.
lawyers, they need to be understanding of the team and also our limitations, that we may not know all the laws on all the regulations. So it's very important to communicate directly to the tech team what is involved and what is happening, so we can understand exactly the extent. So in the case, if you are a tech team or a cyber team
Yeah.
that is working in the healthcare industry, it's very important for the attorneys or the counsel to let us know exactly what regulations that we need to be aware of, and what are the consequences on how to react against a data breach
Yep.
or anything that is happening. And what is important, and I always talk about, is to have a cybersecurity response plan, and it's very
Yeah.
important. And this includes your counsel as well, because if there's any cybersecurity incident, you need to go back to this document to read exactly what happened,
Yep.
how to brief the counsel, and what questions you need to ask to the counsel, and how to preserve evidence, to actually communicate to the board of executives, and also
Yeah.
like, because the person that is going to discover the breach is going to be the cybersecurity team, is going to be
Yes.
the first one to know and how to react. As Melissa mentions, you have 72 hours to
Report.
to
Yeah. Disclose
report,
it.
exactly, to disclose. So as a tech team, you need to be aware of this
Yep.
specific regulation. So if you discover, you can sleep on it. You just have to let your C executives know what happened, so they can inform the council. And it's very important to know and to involve your council when writing the
Yep.
cybersecurity response plan.
So what I understand from this is that both the incident response team and the legal team need to work together in order to solve issues like that.
Yeah.
Now,
And before
there,
and during and after, like
yeah,
before is very important. Melissa, when you're writing a document, you need to be very like thorough and writing the steps and what
exactly.
the team
Words
has
matter.
to do.
They do.
Yeah,
They do matter.
exactly. Yeah, so it's very important to understand. And as a cybersecurity professional, we need to read this document and we need to understand. Even if we don't practice law, we need to understand the regulations so we know how to
Yep.
react. It's part of our jobs too. So that's why you have governance in cybersecurity, and you have specific people in your cybersecurity team that it will tell you exactly what to do and what not to do. So at the end, it could be like a junior cybersecurity employee that says, you know
Yes.
what, I think I found something wrong in one of the servers. There's something going on. So this
Yeah.
person have to tell the
Reporting.
project manager,
Yeah.
project manager or whatever, and this project manager has to write the documentation, has to inform the executives, and then the board will inform their council. And sometimes they have
Yep.
in-house, or sometimes they bring somebody else,
Exactly.
and then you have auditing. So it's like a chain of events.
Mhm.
But from the small part of the nuclear part, which can be this junior cybersecurity professional discovering the data breach
Yeah.
and how to react. So it's very important to inform
Yep.
your employees on what to do.
Yep. Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. Actually, we have a video of a real life case study that happened. It's the HWL Ebsworth ransomware attack that happened. So let's quickly watch it to understand what's that about.
Legal briefs turned breach fodder. In 2023, one of Australia's most trusted legal institutions became the epicenter of a massive data breach. HWL Ebsworth, a firm handling sensitive data, was targeted by the Alpha Black Cat ransomware group. Using stolen credentials from a junior lawyer's account, the attackers bypassed security measures and exfiltrated 3.6 terabytes of confidential files. Despite a $4.6 million ransom demand, HWL Ebsworth refused to pay and the attackers began leaking portions of the stolen files on the dark web. In response, HWL Ebsworth sought legal action, obtaining a court order to remove the leaked data. It was served through the hackers' dark web channels. Shortly after, 1.45 terabytes of leaked data was removed, showing the power of legal pressure. By February 2024, the court made this order permanent, setting a landmark precedent in Australian cybersecurity law.
Cool.
Hi. Yep, that was the video of the HWL Ebsworth breach, and you can go read all about it. The full story is on 911 Cyber, so you can just go ahead and make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter Cybercrime Stories, and you will be able to get the full postmortem of the breach. And in fact, we cover a lot of cybersecurity incidents, and we provide you with the what, where, who, and how of the entire incident. So if you want to know more, just subscribe. So law firm breaches are as grim as they sound. So, Melissa, in the Ebsworth case, the firm won injunctions against persons unknown. What legal precedent does this set for future breaches?
So I mean, it's really cool. So the
Yeah.
HWL Ebsworth case in Australia, it was precedent setting in that the firm obtained an injunction restraining hackers from further disseminating stolen data, which is very
Yeah.
unusual. This was the first time in Australia that kind of relief was granted against anonymous cyber criminals. So it's important because it shows that courts are willing to adapt their traditional equitable remedies to fit cyber incidents, even when the attackers are anonymous and operating overseas or on the dark web. The courts recognize the need for that protection to be extended. So for the legal industry, I guess it sets the precedent that injunctions against persons unknown are available
Yeah.
in the cyber context. But at the same time, though, like, let's be clear, no injunction can erase the many terabytes of data once they've been dumped online. You can never
Yep.
really scrub it. Legal remedies are important, but prevention still has to be the first line of defense. Absolutely. And I feel for the junior associate involved in this. I really hope they're not shunned.
Yeah. So yeah, my next question is actually to you, Sophie. Attackers gain access using the stolen junior lawyer credentials. So what simple security steps could have been taken to stop this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. But the most important one is like to have basic cybersecurity hygiene,
Yeah.
like just the fact of having MFA on every account, it would have saved this problem a lot, because whenever you have another layer of protection on your accounts, it makes it a little bit harder for the attackers to get in. But this could have been happened like because they were able to guess these junior associate passwords, or he could have been phished, or he could have, just as Melissa said, had it posted on his computer and somebody took a picture. So
Yeah.
it's very hard to know exactly how they obtained the credentials. But on top of having like good cyber hygiene, is very important for companies, not only like law firms, but any other company, to have good education for your employees. It's very good to have phishing awareness training, cybersecurity hygiene training, and a lot of these like preventive steps could have helped. But also on the tech side of things, having SMS verification or authenticator enable, or even having firewalls or segmenting the network could have helped this law firm prevent this hack. I know like most of these companies, the same as small businesses, they may not have a cybersecurity team in
Dedicated
house.
team. Yeah.
They may be outsourcing their technology. And again, I always say web development is not cybersecurity. So having somebody like the tech guy in
The
your
tech guy.
team,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it's a cybersecurity person. So you can save a lot of money just by having like a small dedicated team of cybersecurity professionals in-house, or you can outsource cybersecurity to another company that provides cybersecurity services to small businesses or law firms, or like non-tech companies. And it's very important to invest in that, because it can save you a lot of money in the future, from liability, from litigations, for ransomware payments, and a lot of things, fines. I can say those are the worst.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the things that I would recommend before preventing and also after using some tools.
Yep. Thank you so much, Sophie. And vulnerable clients, like, after the case, file a representative complaint after the breach. How should firms prepare litigation risk in situations like this, Melissa?
So I think
Yeah.
the breach in Australia, I believe it impacted like 65 different government agencies, all these private clients, including vulnerable individuals. So
Yeah.
these representative complaints and litigation, they're a natural outcome of this. The litigation risk for law firms is very real because of the nature of the work. Our clients expect and are entitled to the highest levels of confidentiality. So, under the law, organizations have to implement reasonable safeguards, and then the courts and regulators will ask, well, was the breach foreseeable? What were the reasonable steps that you took to prevent it? So,
Yeah.
preparation would mean strong data governance framework, know the data that you collect, why, and how long you keep it. Tabletop simulations, always a good time. Practice breach scenarios before they happen. Transparent, timely communication with the regulators and the clients, and staff training. um, Document everything, right? Paper it up. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be paper, but you know what I mean. Um, but the staff training part is important because the culture of the organization is almost as well, maybe it's as important as the technology. So preparedness means that you as a firm should be able to demonstrate that you invested in reasonable safeguards. And if you can prove that they're reasonable to the reasonable standard, which is a whole other thing, you'll be in a far stronger position than anyone who doesn't.
Yeah. And actually, depending on the severity of the attack, sometimes law enforcement is involved. So they may take all these devices as evidence. So you need to prepare for that. Counsel and tech teams that they're going to take your devices away for you don't know how long. Sometimes it's years, or you'll never get them back. So you also need to prepare for that part of the breach, not only litigation, but also that evidence may be taken by the FBI or any other law enforcement, Interpol, depending on the severity.
Yep.
Sometimes they are involved, sometimes they are not. So you need to be like also conscious about that.
Yeah. And so when like ransom data is leaked, now how should responders guide lawyers on disclosure and notification, for example, like pertaining to the Ebsworth case?
Yeah, well, just as Melissa said, once the data is leaked, it's
Yeah.
gone in the wild forever.
Yeah.
So no matter like that, like whatever you do, that's it. That's too late. However, when as tech professionals, we work closely with law firms on how to disclose this and notify. The most important thing is to actually understand, to have a clear picture of what was accessed and what was exfiltrated and what was also published. Because you can think that they may have exfiltrated a certain amount of data, but maybe it's not. So you also need to want to see what was leaked. So
Yep.
if it's like only like first names and probably half of an email address, that's completely different if it's like personal sensitive healthcare information, social security numbers, or any like PI that can be linked to a specific person. So that's very important when you actually present the evidence and say, you know what, this is what has may have been taken and this is what has been leaked online.
Yeah.
So you need to actually weight both. And and in case if it's a ransomware, there may be a deadline. For example, I don't know, the attackers, they may say you have 1 month to make this payment. So
Payment. Yeah.
you have to actually wait an entire month to see actually what they have taken from your servers. So you know what type of data you are dealing with. As a forensic investigator, you may think that they may have access to this specific data, but maybe not. I mean, it's very hard to actually know until it's leaked, which is
Yeah.
when the attorneys are involved, because that's when all the regulations are enforced.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a timing issue. So you need to work with both sides of things, with the random, like with the negotiator. Sometimes you are negotiating with the ransomware team, and
Ransomware
also
team.
you are with your attorneys that they are informing you about the laws that you are being breaking right now.
Yeah.
So it's like so many things going on.
So in this case, HWL actually refused to pay the ransom, but terabytes of data were still dumped online. How should legal and technical teams weigh that choice, Melissa?
Yes. So in the HWLE case, the ransom demand was 4.6 million. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So they refused, and then over 3 terabytes of client employee
Yeah.
data were published. So what it shows is that there's not really any good choice in
Mhm.
ransomware cases. Paying doesn't guarantee confidentiality because they could still publish or sell the data to other entities. And as we saw here, refusing to pay can lead to mass disclosure, as in this case. As well, legally speaking, paying a ransom could raise issues under a few different laws. So in Canada, the Proceeds of Crime, Money Laundering, and Terrorist Financing Act,
Oh,
or in the US, the OAFC
yeah.
sanctions list. So you have to weigh that as well. These things prohibit payments to sanctioned entities. So that's why the legal and technical teams need to collaborate. It is so, so important. Legal assesses the regulatory and the liability risks, while the technical teams assess containment and recovery.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the best approach is obviously prevention, backup, segmentation,
Yeah.
as you said, and MFA. The cost of those measures is insignificant compared to the fallout of terabytes of leaked data, whether it's from ransom or from eventual
Settlements, yeah, fines, and yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and
coming to
actually,
you, Sophie. Yeah.
the number one advice from the FBI is do not pay the ransom, and there's a reason for that. Not only you just motivate the ransom gangs to keep doing it, it also implicates a lot of other like terrorist acts and things like, as Melissa mentioned. So number one advice is not to pay the ransom. So you sort of don't finance these gangs. But again, from the technical standpoint, as also Melissa mentioned, we looked at containment and of course the recovery speed, how fast we can bring the systems back online or patch any like an issue that it may have caused this data breach or ransomware, and the likelihood of stopping future leaks or ransomware. But again, it's very important to remember that paying the ransom that is not going to guarantee that the data is going to be leaked or released later. So this is like, as a cybersecurity professional, these decisions, they always involve the C-suite personnel, the executives. They need to
Yeah.
understand the operational impact, reputational risk, any like law or regulatory consequences, and they have to weigh the legal way, the legal way, the compliance, liability. So it's like a coordinated decision between the executives and the attorneys, the counsel,
Yeah.
on what to do in this case.
Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. And before we go to the next question, I want to share a quick update with our audience. We will be releasing a very special edition of Cyber Review featuring Melissa Lookings and her book, Understanding Cybersecurity Law and Digital Privacy, this coming Monday. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. Okay, thank you so much, Melissa, by the way, for participating in the cyber review. And my question to you is actually about your book. Your book highlights digital governance and data sovereignty. How are global regulations like GDPR, CCPA, and India's DPDP Act reshaping how companies handle data across borders?
Yeah, so that would be the second book I think that we wrote. So
Yeah.
yeah, global data regulations, they've fundamentally changed how companies handle information under the GDPR. There's a restriction of transfers outside the EU without adequate protections. Then the uh, California Consumer Privacy Act and the Privacy Rights Act enhance consumer rights and create liabilities for improper handling. Under India's DPDP Act, that introduced compliance obligations, and that's one of the world's largest markets. So that's huge. For Canadian
Yeah.
firms, then, because I'm in Canada. The Bermuda Principle makes it clear that companies remain accountable for the information transferred internationally, which means you can't outsource liability by outsourcing the processing. In practice, that comes down to the daily culture. So, encryption, security transfers, vendor oversight. A firm that casually emails unencrypted client files
Yeah.
abroad is already violating the spirit, if not the letter, of those laws.
Thank you so much for your answer. Actually, we have a question coming in from LinkedIn right now, and it's from Berwin, and it says that from both cybersecurity and legal perspective, how real and immediate is the threat of AI being weaponized against businesses? Which one of you experts would like to take that question and answer?
You can go. I
Yep.
mean, it's real and immediate, right? Like everyone has all this fear compounding about AI right now. It
Yeah.
it is real, and it is now. It's going to be for the foreseeable future. So I'm gonna say very, but I'm also gonna add on to that AI has these two sides, right? So
Yep.
you can use it as a weapon, but you can also use it as a shield.
Yes.
So that's my answer. That's my answer.
Sophie,
Yeah.
would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because from a cybersecurity perspective, the threat is very real and it's immediate. I mean, we are right now experiencing a lot of AI simulated phishing or, like AI leverage in the wild because they use like generative models to write convincing phishing emails,
Yeah.
automate social engineering at scale. And they even use it like to scan the web or the internet to look for vulnerabilities way faster than we used to do before with AI. It just like you just put the information, the
Yeah.
CVEs, and they will be able. So it sort of lowers the barrier of entry for less skilled attackers to actually get into the cyber crime world. But again, we need to like converge both, like the importance of like this threat is active today, is not years away, it's not in the future,
Yeah.
it's right now. So as professionals we need to be proactive. We also need to again to educate your workforce on these AI threats, on how to build like a resilience against AI attacks, and also of course legally you need to be aware on how to document everything, update contracts, and ensure that of course compliance and it's always evolving. So it's
Yes.
very important to stay up to date in AI, like regulations, because it's always changing.
Yeah, and I think the same user says that they have also seen a lot of deep fake scams lately too. So
Yeah.
I,
And
yeah,
of course, you always need to consider one of most of the important things of AI that is happening right now is data poisoning. When they are like,
yeah,
they poison the AI, so it will be like giving you like poison answers and not helping like cybersecurity professionals or law, whatever it is. And like the other day, I read that someone reported a case where they initiated a DDoS from an LLM. So, like, you are seeing
well,
day to day cases that actually is happening right now. So, the AI is today, is not the future.
yeah. Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. And I hope that, Bervin, you got your answer from us. If you have any other questions, and I encourage all the other viewers, if you have any other questions, make sure to leave them in the chat. We will definitely get to them and get them answered as well. And Sophie, so from your perspective, we just saw a case with the HWL Ebsworth data breach, which was in Australia. Now, how
Mhm.
do cross border data breaches, compliance incident response, especially when legal requirements differ across like jurisdictions, you know?
Yeah, I love this one because for the law firm in Australia, they use an injunction, a law injunction to stop the data breach, but they don't know where these ransomware gang were located. So it's sort of cross border, like Australian law was effective to stop this ransomware gang from leaking, but we don't know where they are located. So it's sort of like cross border thing
Yeah.
here. But again, there's a lot of complexity because every country has their own jurisdiction, they have their own different legal system. So what you can disclose to whom, how quickly can, it can change among countries. You have GDPR in the euro,
Europe,
and you
yeah.
have you say
DPDP in India, yeah.
yeah, you have HIPAA, you have you say PIPA, right? PIPA in Canada.
Mhm.
So every country has their own regulations. So one thing we discussed with Melissa during the cyber review is like sometimes Canada, they hosted servers in the US. So
Yeah,
where is the balance between like which law applies, the Canadian law or the US law here?
yeah.
So we need to be like very aware also where the data is hosted as well. That's one of the main things from the GDPR as well. That's why most of the things are registered in Ireland. So those are like the things that we need to be conscious as professionals. Where are we storing this data? And if a breach
Yeah.
happens, which is the law that is going to be applying? It can be user from Canada, but it has been accessed in the US, the data.
US, yeah.
So like I don't know, as a legal expert, it's like this is like a gray area, because it's the
Yep.
physical access or where the physical data is located and whose data is it.
Got it. Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. And like we just saw in the absurd case that there was ransom, and legal teams are often pulled into ransom negotiations. How should lawyers guide organizations through disclosure obligations and ransom payment dilemmas, Melissa?
Well, I mean, oftentimes
Yeah.
lawyers aren't directly negotiating with the attackers, but we can guide
Yeah,
organizations through the surrounding obligations. So that would
of
mean
course.
assessing whether the disclosure is required under the law, confirming that ransom payments won't violate any sanctions or any regimes, ensuring communications are legally privileged, carefully documented. But the best legal advice again is to avoid the situation in the first place.
Yeah.
Implementing your MFA, your backups, patching reduces the likelihood of needing to weigh these types of demands. And as we've seen, even with the case we looked at earlier, even when ransom is refused, if prevention wasn't strong enough, the consequences can be catastrophic. So I mean, this is a fluid thing, and just in relation to the previous question about the interjurisdictional nature of a lot of these things, when you're going across borders and across different areas and navigating through different, somewhat variable laws,
Yeah.
that's going to be even more expensive. So get your protection in place so you don't have to deal with that.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for your answer. And Sophie, if you could give like one piece of advice to legal professionals preparing for like their first major incident, what would help them be the most effective in supporting the response team?
Yeah, I mean, my advice and from my experience is to get involved early and stay close to the technical team, especially when writing the
Yeah.
cybersecurity response. And why it's important because regulations they change over time and very fast as technology do.
Yeah.
So it's very important to work closely with the council team, and especially to actually, you know. To get guidance from them on how to document everything correctly, how to save
Yep.
logs, how to write the reports, and also to be a little bit more involved with the
Yep.
probably I can say technical and terms, so you can help also the team to understand better what they have to do in case of a leak or a ransomware or any cybersecurity incident.
Thank you, Sophie, so much for your answer. And Melissa, how can lawyers and like incident responders like Sophie build strong collaborations, before a crisis happens and not just like during the heat of the incident?
I mean, that would during the heat would be the worst time to make
Yeah.
your incident response team. That would be the very worst. The collaboration has to start beforehand. So again, as we already talked about, joint tabletop exercises, clear communication protocols, cross training, so that each side understands the other's priorities. Right, that bridging of the gap. And for lawyers, it's not just the best practice, it's actually one of our ethical duties. So, under the Law Society of Ontario's rules of
Yeah.
professional conduct, we are obligated to protect client confidentiality, which means ensuring that we're working seamlessly with the technical responders. It also means instilling that culture where everyone plays a role, not just the IT person, tech support. You need your MFA, you need your strong passwords, avoid putting post-it notes on desks. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it matters just as much as your courtroom strategy in preventing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Sorry, Melissa, for your answer. Actually, we have a question coming in from Michelle on LinkedIn. As a legal professional traveling and working internationally, what best practices would you recommend when traveling, especially through the US?
That's a really good question, and particularly now. Yeah,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, right now in the U.S. So,
Yeah.
as a lawyer, you're obligated to protect your client data. Unfortunately, right now, what we're seeing at the border. When you're traveling to the US, is that they can ask to see your devices, they can ask for your password, they can ask to open those up. If at all possible, don't bring it. Just don't bring it. When you're working internationally, that can be more difficult. So you'll want to have access to a remote drive, which is obviously encrypted and safe for your data. If you can avoid having things downloaded to your devices, that would be preferable. I hesitate to use the word burner phone, but I'm going to go ahead and use that anyway. That would be a good
Yeah.
thing to have. Have a backup SIM card. Um, you cannot disclose your client data at the border. That means that if you have a dedicated device that you're using for your work and it has client information on it, you cannot open it. That's what
Okay.
it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree exactly. That's what I
Go to the US.
recommend to, and not only the US, even if you go to the Middle East,
Mm.
especially like you have Dubai or even like Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
they actually access your devices as well. So if you travel around the world, you need to be very conscious that your devices may be accessed or you may lose your devices.
Yeah.
And this can be also another issue, like somebody can access your devices and you don't even know, and you just like giving away all these free data and
Yeah.
putting yourself in a bit of an issue.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for your question. And another reminder that if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the chat. We will definitely get to them. And Sophie, the final question to you. If you could give law firms one top priority for 2025 to strengthen both legal readiness and technical resilience, what would that be?
Well, as I mentioned before, throughout all these
Yeah.
very good sessions that we have, is like my top priority will be to build an integrated incident response plan because it will combine legal readiness with technical resilience, and this means to bring the IT team when you are writing this integrated incident response to actually like give away roles on who is going to be in charge of what when something happens. And it's very important because you will have specific people that they will be taking care of, like documenting or preserving evidence, and who is responsible. So at the end, if something like goes bad or there's something missing, you know who to look for. And that is one of my recommendations.
Thank you so much, Melissa and Sophie, for sharing such valuable insights today. This conversation, like about cybersecurity, showed us that it's not just a technical issue, right? That legal and human challenges are always there. Thank you so much, Sophie and Melissa.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have your expertise. And once again, everyone watching today, we will be releasing a special edition of the Cyber Review with Melissa Lookings on her book, Understanding Cybersecurity Law and Digital Privacy, coming this Monday. So stay tuned and subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, before we go into our next segment and discuss the top headlines of this week, we will watch a quick video on the cyber briefing.
Stay ahead of the cyber curve with real-time alerts, incident reports, and the latest cybersecurity news, all in one streamlined, easy-to-read newsletter. Join more than 20,000 subscribers who rely on Cyber Briefing, available on LinkedIn, Medium, and now on Substack. Don't wait to protect your digital world. Subscribe today and stay informed with Cyber Briefing by Cyber Material.
Thank you so much for watching the video. That was Cyber Briefing, which is one of our top initiatives where we give you the top incident alerts and news around the globe. And we deliver that to you every weekday. So make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter so you do not miss out. Now, let's take a few minutes and we'll be really quick about it to discuss the top cybersecurity headlines of this week and unpack what they really mean. The first one is a big story that the WhatsApp scam that lets hackers hijack chats. Sophie, what are your thoughts on this scam?
Yeah. So again, I want to thank Melissa for taking the time for to talk about her experience and her perspective, and I really appreciate that. So if anybody wants to reach out to Melissa, I think you're available on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, and you can also look me up on Lou King's Law. It's my new thing. So check it out. There's a page on LinkedIn, or just look up my name on LinkedIn. That's fine too.
Yeah, perfect. And I also see some questions on LinkedIn about cybersecurity career and so
Yeah,
on. So
guidance.
please
Yeah.
feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to give you some advice. I'm available also on LinkedIn, and you can see it if you're watching us through LinkedIn. You can see that I'm tagged, or on YouTube, you will be able to see also our tags there as well.
Reach
But
out.
again,
Cool.
yeah, exactly, yes. So thank you, Melissa, for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, Melissa, once again.
All right, I'm gonna head out, guys. But thank you for having me. It was great to be a part of this. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, Sophie. So, getting back to the big story of the week, which was the WhatsApp scam. So, let's talk
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah, so as we always do in our events, we talk about the biggest headlines of the week
Yeah.
from our cyber briefing. So we picked today the WhatsApp scam, because this is something that can happen to anybody, and it's a very common, common thing that is happening right now, and it can happen to anyone. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter your background or whatever. So what it actually happened here, it's about a scam that is taking over WhatsApp accounts. And the
Yeah.
scam usually starts with a message from someone maybe, or it could be an unsolicited message. Then you receive
Yeah.
something that says, "Hey, how are you? This has been a long time. Here's a photo I found of us." And it's like a image that doesn't load, and
Yeah.
a short link. So whenever you click on that link, it will take you to a very similar looking login Facebook page. And
Yeah.
in that, they ask you to log in Facebook to, whenever you click on an image, sometimes if your Facebook is not logged in, you have to sign in. And
Yeah.
it's actually the same logic. And when you go, you click, you use your Facebook login, you sign in, and when you enter the credentials, they
Yep.
are harvesting your data. So they not only will be able to hijack your WhatsApp account, also your Facebook account. And this is scary. So anybody that has been receiving unsolicited messages, please be aware that this
Be
is a
aware.
scam.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, this has been happening to a lot of people, users using WhatsApp worldwide. And our second big story this week is the sales love drift supply chain attack.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. We have like 700 organizations that are believed to have been impacted by this. Sophie, what are your thoughts on this breach? And what
Yeah.
does, like, it stands out because of the huge impact of it, right?
Yeah, and this is something that has been happening since August, mid-August. So this is the major story of, I can say, the month, and probably
Yeah.
can become the story of the year, because it's involving so many companies so far. Every day there's new companies that they are disclosing that they've been affected by this incident. So for those that are not aware, there are a lot of cybersecurity firms or tech firms like Cloudflare, Zscaler, Palo Alto Networks, and Proofpoint that they've been victims of the exploit drift integration of Salesforce. So
Yeah.
they are, which allows hackers to steal auth tokens and access sensitive data like AWS keys, passwords,
Yeah.
and get access to their Snowflake tokens. This has been sort of patched because Drift platform has been taken offline, so they can actually conduct a thorough review. This is the evidence
Yep.
preservation part of things, so they took it offline. So at this moment, they are doing some forensics and understanding what is the extent of this attacked. But every day we're hearing new companies that they're being victims of this sales love drift.
Sales soft drift attack. Yeah. And we like to end things on a good note usually, and it is that the US Department of Justice has put forward a reward for information on the Russian FSB hackers involved in the long running cyber campaign. So Sophie, what does this make you think of, the US stepping up with these kinds of public charges and rewards against state sponsored actors? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, and actually, like why we always want to end in a high note, and it's
Yeah.
important to know that cybersecurity is not always bad news. It's always
Yeah.
sometimes the good guys fighting the bad guys. And I always want to say, like, to like to wrap things up on this case today, the U.S. Department of State, they announced a bounty of $10 million for just information to
Yep.
identify the location or the identity of three FSB officers that they were involved or accused in orchestrating cyber attacks targeting U.S. Critical infrastructure and targeting over 500 U.S. firms.
Hmm.
So these attacks, they are attributed to the FSB Center 16 unit, and it has been linked to persistent access to networks and enable potential disruptions to critical facilities.
Hmm.
But again, the reward is from the justice program, and it has been like very useful, in fact, in terms of cybersecurity efforts
Yeah.
to to uh, to help with these initiatives, that it helps to also show
Solve
that
these
the
problems.
bad
Yeah.
guys are not always winning. uh,
Yep.
and 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 again, this is like a proactive stance in the ongoing and never ending battle against cyber
Yeah.
threats. And also, of course, it emphasized in the accountability and international cooperation
Of
to
course.
safeguard critical infrastructure in the US and with the US allies too.
Thank you so much, Sophie, for your answer. And really quick, we will take one last question from the audience, which we have on Substack, actually. Thank you, Deepak, so much for leaving your question. And it is, how effective is AI based SOC agents? Okay. This is not exactly about legal, but yeah. So, how effective are AI based SOC agents?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, as part of Ask Me Anything Cyber
Yep.
Fridays, we take any question. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if it's like related to the topic of today. But
Yeah.
in terms of like AI-based stock agents, they are showing real promise in terms of speed, scalability, handling respective monitoring tasks, and also the triage of alerts and the signals across multiple agents, and
Yeah.
even suggesting remediation steps in nearly real time. But again, I always promote that AI is a complementing tool to the human. There are a lot of things that the AI may not be capable of doing right now. So it's very important to also keep the agents, the human agents, working in conjunction with the AI
Yeah.
SOC team. But again, it's a step in the right direction right now. It shows a lot of promise, but again, always is very important to pair it with skilled humans that can also give a different perspective.
Yes, because there might just be something that goes wrong, and a human eye might be able to
But
detect
again,
that.
I mean, this is for Deepak. I mean, if you want to give us your answer as well, that would be great. I always like to see other perspectives from other people, and it's very important. Like as the cybersecurity professionals, we build a community where everybody
Yeah.
can speak up their mind, so we can build the best defense possible.
So you can actually leave your answer in our Substack chat. We have that open. And also, if anybody has any questions, we are there throughout. So if you have any cybersecurity related questions, we'll definitely get them answered. So, Sophie, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been a real privilege again having you walk us through both the technical practices today and also the legal side of everything.
Yeah.
And to our audience, thank you so much for joining Ask Me Anything Cyber. Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Sophie.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sophie. And our questions and engagement makes these sessions like truly valuable. And we'll be back soon for our next Ask Me Anything Cyber. It's on 11th of September. So mark your calendar next Thursday, coming Thursday, and we will be there at 12 noon sharp. So stay tuned, bring your toughest questions, and until then, stay safe, stay secure, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for another high-energy recap of the week's biggest cyber stories, from data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special, live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. See you next week.